Guys, Ross here from Agency Knowledge and co-founder of Lead Carrot. In this video, I'm going to answer the question, when is the right time to quit your 9 to 5? Now, I'm not like most entrepreneurs out there or gurus who say you need to quit your job right now. You need to quit your job right now, because usually they're doing that trying to sell you something. I'm a father of 2. I also have a wife, and I understand that there is a risk to reward ratio in everything you do. When you're younger and say you're 20 years old and you have no responsibilities, it's very easy to say, just quit your job and go all in. I did it. It's very easy to do that. But as you get older, your responsibilities increase. So does the level of risk that you're willing to take. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't or can't quit your job eventually, or that now you are sucked into a life of hourly wage. But there is a right time, and I want to explain this to you because the majority of my life I've been self-employed. So it might sound crazy to be like, hey, how can you give me this advice? But there have been a total of about 5 or 6 years of my life that I was a W-2 employee. And my very last job that I ever had, I was basically like a front desk marketing reception dude at an orthodontic practice. And at the same time, I was growing my business on the side. At the time, I was flipping phones, selling phones, fixing phones, iPads, all of that stuff. This was back in 2013. And while I was doing that, it was funny. I was making $15 an hour, which isn't a lot, but it was fine for what I was doing. I was making $15 an hour. And I was working 3 to 4 days a week, and I had to do it because I had a wife. I needed to make sure that we had income coming in, but I hated it. It was like pulling nails. And here's where I started to really start realizing I need to quit this job. If I would spend 1 hour working in my business, I would make $150 to $200 because I'd be able to find a good deal on a phone. I'd fix a phone. I'd flip a phone. I would make more money in that hour. But if I would stay there, I couldn't be working on my business while I was on the clock. That would be wrong. That would be stealing from the employer. So I had to be focused on growing his business at that time. I could only make $15 in that hour. And at first it was consistent, and it is what it is. But as my other business started gaining momentum, that's when I realized there was this, I need to do this. I need to make this jump. I need to make this leap. And I did it, and when I did, income got really good. Now, later on, I would have many problems as I started growing that business and opening brick and mortar and had 2 brick and mortar stores. I had many failures in that business. But when I was just fixing the phones out of home and flipping them, I was actually very, very profitable, making thousands of dollars per week just sitting there making, flipping those devices. Now, when I got out of that, I didn't want to go back to a job because mentally I couldn't. I couldn't mentally go back to a job because I was in so much debt at that time. I closed my cell phone store. Actually, I sold it, but for only like $25,000. And it just paid off revolving expenses. We were still in debt. We had like 65, 70 grand of medical debts and things like that. And I looked at that and I thought, if I go back to a job right now, I'm only going to make $15, $20 an hour. So let's say that I pull in $4,500 a month after taxes for my family. We pay our living expenses, the necessities. We're at about, say, $3,000 in. I only have $1,000, so that means at leftover. That means I can only put maybe $500 towards paying off debt, and then have $500 for my family to live off. And that just was a mental shift that I wasn't willing to make. To think that I am going to be in debt for the next 10 years was just not something that I wanted to do. So I thought, how can I make money quick? And that's when I realized that I no longer wanted to charge for my time. I wanted to charge for the value and the impact that I could bring to a business or a person. For example, a chiropractor or a loan officer or a personal injury attorney. Let's use PI attorneys because I've been getting great results with them. They can get 1 case in a month, and that could bring them in tens of thousands of dollars. They will gladly pay me $3,500 if I can get them even just one case in a month. And I can do that through running Facebook ads, Google ads, etc. Plus, they'll pay the ad spend on top of that because it's just worth it for them. The ROI is just obvious. So I thought, okay, well, let me see if I can really give this a shot. And I went out and I started landing clients. When I first started, I was charging $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, which many people are still stuck in that cycle. In the very first month that I did this, I did over $10,000. We have it on record because there were videos and stuff. I was super excited about it. Over $10,000 my very first month with an agency. Very next month, I doubled it. And my agency has continued to scale and grow and grow and grow since then. And what I learned, and this was the big thing, was that not only were people willing to pay me once for the value that I would provide them, but they're willing to pay you it over and over again if you can learn how to become like an ATM machine for someone. Now you might think, well, Ross, why wouldn't they just do this themselves? Well, it's the same reason you don't pull your own teeth. You don't fix your own cavities. It's the same reason you can't write your own prescriptions, because they don't have the skill set nor the time to put in to learn how to do this. Now, does that mean that you need to know how to run Facebook ads and funnels and all this stuff? No, because I learned I could take it a step further. I didn't need to learn those things. I just needed to master the skill set of selling, because there are other people out there that are 10 times better at the ads and funnels than me, but they can't sell to save their life. And even if they weren't better at me, they could learn it. Ads and funnels are super easy. Easiest thing in the world to do. The harder thing is to sell and get them to convert. So you master that skill, and that's where the real money comes in. Understanding how to turn leads to an appointment, understanding how to turn an appointment to a sale. I can get on a call with a client and with sophistication speak to them about how to get their leads to convert, even though I'm not a personal injury attorney, and they take the advice because it makes logical sense. And that's the skill that I teach my students in my program in Agency Knowledge. So if right now you're thinking, what should I do? Should I go get a job for a little bit? Or should I quit my job? When should I quit my job? You don't need to make hard decisions. First off, the most important thing in all of this is not you. It's not me. It's your responsibilities and your family. For instance, if you quitting a job is going to put your wife and your children at risk of having financial instability, don't do it yet. Don't do it until you're certain. How do you become certain? You need a couple wins under your belt while you have the job, so that way you can feel like when you jump off, you know what you're going to do. You know how to get to the next level when you jump off. So I highly recommend, don't wait till I'm going to wait until I can quit my job and I have everything perfect, then I'm going to start my agency. Don't do that. With the model that we've set up, you can be collecting appointments while you're working. You can have a closer closing even while you're working. Build up a little bit of some wins under your belt. Yes, it's never going to be the same as when you're 100% focused on it, when you are 100% all focused on it. But at the same time, I'm not for taking this huge risk depending on where you're at in your life. But that advice doesn't fit for everyone. If you are 20 years old, 23 years old, you're thinking about doing this, maybe you've been doing some factory work and you don't want to do this your whole life, you can afford to take that risk if it's just you. You can afford it, and I could afford it. And the reason I say that, and everybody's situation is obviously a little different based off your health conditions, etc. But the reason why I say that is because even at my age right now, I turned 30 in a couple months. Even at my age right now, if I didn't have children and a wife, I could lose everything and get it back. I have enough time to do that. I could lose it all and get it back. But I'm not going to do that now that I have children and a wife. That wouldn't be fair to them. But when you're young, you do have that ability to do that. Now, the second you get married and you have kids, that changes, but that doesn't mean you're stuck. It doesn't mean you're in a slavery forever. It just means that you need to be smarter and a little bit more calculated in the way you do it. You need to get a couple wins under your belt, at least know how this is going to play out, feel comfortable in that lane. So when you jump off that very first day, let's say you quit on a Friday, Monday, you have a game plan. I've been learning more about investing lately in the stocks and so forth. It's a good time right now, depending on who you talk to, but just because so many things are so low, if you're planning on doing long-term holds, especially in some of the travel stock and things like that, things have been going well. And they shot up, I sold, and now it came back down, and I'm going to be buying back up here again. But one of the things that I've been taught when going into any sort of trade is have a stop loss, have a plan, take profit if you're doing swing trading. I don't do a ton of that because I don't have time for it. The point is going into any sort of risk with a plan. If you don't have a plan, you will not succeed. And so that's what I give people in my program. I literally give them that plan. Now, if you guys are interested in learning more about how you can grow an agency to be able to achieve this, then you can click on the link below. There's a training that I have on how you can be able to grow an agency, whether you're in a job or not.